Welcome to another edition of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And my guest is really a treat for us today. Talk about an epic life. It's going to be a lot of fun. He is a 6th degree black belt. And I know that might not mean a lot to you if you don't know, if you don't understand, but we're going to dig in and find out what does it really take to get there and how it's impacted his life. Yuri, thank you for joining me.
Cool. Thank you for having me.
This is cool. It's very fun. It's very fun. So part of this podcast is very selfish, right? Right? Because we have tried to get together. We've been in airports together. We've been all these places. We've tried to get together because I want to know what is the best, in your opinion, what is the best discipline of martial arts for self-defense? So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. I don't want you to answer right now. I kind of want to back up and find out who you are, so that everybody gets to know who you are. And then that really is the reason that I ask you for the biggest part. Okay. So who are you? Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
That's a big one. My name's Yuri. My given name is Uriel Lapchevich, and I grew up in Espanola, New Mexico. I know, the name does not fit. So I guess I was born in New York State. My parents really wanted to get away from the city, so they kind of traveled, and they were kind of against the grain, and they didn't fit the traditional mold. You know, my mom was super proud I was a hippie, you know, and so they just went traveling around the nation, just kind of looking things. And they decided after, different things that New Mexico would be the place to raise their kids. And so, the story goes, my mom really thought about Santa Fe, and then he got there. She loved Chimayo. There wasn't anything available in Chimayo, so they lived in Espanola. Eventually moved to Chimayo, which was like 7 miles away. And so my life was in Espanola, and it's a very different life from what I do now, right? And there's nothing like anything about it. It's just, I grew up there. I left. Here I am in Albuquerque. It's not very far away. I can still visit my parents if I have to and want to, and they can see my kids, and yeah. So that's kind of how I got here.
Okay. Yeah. So what brought you to Albuquerque?
College.
Okay. All right.
So from a young age, my parents got me into martial arts. I'm going to mention that just because I know that's the whole reason why I'm here. So at 4, I was watching Ninja Turtles. I was an 80s baby. Watching Ninja Turtles, loving that. I would watch Thundercats, and I'd wave the sword around, and my dad still tells stories just to embarrass me.
That's awesome.
But then I saw a few Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and I thought, that is cool. And my parents said that I apparently bugged them until they got me into martial arts. And so I did martial arts in Santa Fe. So that's that. But I got to Albuquerque because after high school, what do? You go to college. That's just kind of what I was planned and prepped to do. And I had a few scholarships to UNM, small scholarships, but it made the most sense. It wasn't far away. It was still far from home. And I got to be my own adult, and you learn all those lessons. I lived in the dorms. I actually... in high school, I gained a lot of weight. I wasn't doing martial arts in high school. I gained a lot of weight. I was pretty rotund, as we would say. And freshman year, if you look at a totality, I lost about 90 pounds. Freshman year of college.
90 pounds in 1 year?
Yeah. I didn't keep it all off, obviously, but yeah, I did. I went from 305 to about 200, 205.
How?
It was a whole lifestyle change. In high school, I wasn't very popular. I was the smart kid. I was fat. It's fine. My brother actually had an autoimmune disorder, and so it took a lot of the funds away from just normalcy. So I couldn't do martial arts, and at the time I didn't really care. I was a teenager, whatever. But getting back into college, realizing, man, I kind of missed that. I have an opportunity to take that as part of my electives, basically for free, right? Because it's part of my curriculum. So I chose to do that, and so living in the dorms at UNM on the 4th floor where there's no elevators, and I had to come down to go to the cafeteria to eat. And then if I wanted to go back, I had to go back up. And then if I had to go to class, I had to walk. So I had to go down my 4 flights of stairs, walk, come back. So the active lifestyle of just college made a very big impact because I'm just moving more, right? I wasn't going home playing video games as the chubby teenager. So that made an impact. Second semester, I got back and I started playing Mortal Kombat with a few friends back at home for winter break. And I thought, I'm getting back into martial arts. I miss it. So I went from Mortal Kombat 5. Yeah, I'm pretty old now. took a Taekwondo class. And granted, I did it, from 4 to 13-ish, and I became a second-degree black belt in Shotokan karate. I did that my whole childhood. And so I'm stepping into Taekwondo, I'm a white belt. And I told the instructor, yeah, I did it, but that was so long ago, I'd like to start. So I did Taekwondo for a semester. I liked it, but it was at 8 a.m., and that was the only time frame it was. So I found a karate class for sophomore year, and I liked it, but there was a club. There was a karate club that happened after hours. It was like 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, 2 to 3 times a week. So I went to there, and so that was kind of like there's karate, and then there's karate, like elite level. Hey, this is nothing but adults, which was different. I mean, yeah, it's college, but it was adults only. The instructor talked to you like a human being. It wasn't like all like rainbows and sunshine. You're doing great, kid. It's like, no, that sucks. Deeper stances. And it would be, when I was learning in a foreign country, I would get smacked around. So deep in that stance, I'm not going to smack you around, just deep in the stance, So I had a very rigorous, competitive, we do tournaments, we do this, we will be elite because this is why you joined the club. This isn't a democracy. This isn't a class. You're here by choice. You can leave by choice, or I'll kick your ass out, right? And so I loved that because for the first time in my life, I knew whatever I do in my professional career, I'm in college. I didn't really know. I wanted to do stuff, but I knew that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an elite martial artist. I don't know, it just was part of me. I just knew. So I started training with him, and I went through my whole college career, and we actually started going to grad school at UNM, so I was able to stay in that club, and I was not a coach, but I was kind of like one of the, they call them senpais, which is kind of like the, some systems say senpais is like brown belts and first degree black belts. Well, I was pretty much senpai and then sensei, lower black belt ranks, right? And it was kind of like number 2, So there was an instructor, and then I was the example. And yes, there were other black belts. Yes, there were other examples, but it kind of became that way toward the end, right? If he's not there, I'm there, right? So that was my journey. And so, yes, we went and competed. Yes, I won national titles. Yes, I did this stuff. But the journey was, that's who I wanted to be. That's what I'm going to do. This guy knows what he's doing. He's also adopted me as, like his protege kind of. So I'm going to go for it because this is invaluable and I'm doing this. And so that's kind of in a nutshell how I got to where I was at one point,
Shoo. That's a lot. So no, it's good. It's that. So in that you had discipline, but you didn't have to create it.
Like, yeah, I had it. Like, it's part of who I was. I do have discipline, but I think not necessarily creating it, but I had to have something that I wanted to apply it, right? So because I have it doesn't mean I apply it. I am one of the laziest people on the planet when I want to be. So my kids, Dad, what are we going to do today? I'm sorry, I just worked long week. I'm going to sit on the couch and play video games. But I'm not always that way. But if you know me close, I don't get to play video games anymore. I'm a dad of 3, and when I get a chance, I'm taking it. And sorry, kids, we're going to order pizza, and that's it. So yes, I can be lazy. But if I'm in martial arts, I actually had to self-check my ego at many points, to be honest with you. Because I would look at folks who, and remember, I came from a very competitive tournament. We are doing this. We will be elite. And it was very egotistical. I will admit that. But it pushed me to grow as far as I did. So while I can admit it and see it for what it was, I also don't regret it because that pushed my drive to be one of the top competitors in those circuits in the nation, right? So while I can look back and see exactly my arrogance in saying as like a 5th degree black belt, being like, God, that brown belt can't even do a roundhouse. But I wasn't focusing on, well, that guy's in his late 40s, early 50s, and he started when he was in his 40s, early 50s, and his body can't do it, and he's doing what he can to improve himself. And so that was my later in life, I say later in life, in my 30s, realization, right? It doesn't matter if you are elite or if you want to be. What matters is you're doing something that is totally unnatural. Karate and martial arts is unnatural. You are doing movements with your body we are not meant to do. Me as a 265-pound man, I'm 265 pounds right now. I'm training for a tournament. I'm going to drop weight. Don't worry, but I could do the full splits. That is not normal. But how do I do it? I have to not lose what I have, But seeing people who don't have that, but pushing just past the comfortable point to improve themselves, that's cool.
So that kind of ties in. We talked a little before we started with you're this elite, one of the top in the nation, best of the best.
At one point.
At one point. And then you got into a whole new industry. You got into real estate and you became a white belt again.
Yeah. Total white belt.
How was that?
It was very freaky, and it was good. It was a challenge. I needed a challenge. I was, in a nutshell, I graduated with a master's degree in communication. I always had these dreams. I did travel. I traveled around the world, Europe and Eastern Europe specifically. And I came back and, started a family. But I went back to bartending because what is one of the things that I can make money and be flexible with time for the children, right? So, I was making pretty okay money working at a very upscale restaurant here in Albuquerque. I was working 4 shifts a week, but making what some people can't make, right? Mm-hmm. And so I felt very fortunate, but also I was stagnant. I was complacent, and I get it, right? I see it now, whatever. I can't change that. I can change who I am now. But, I had 3 kids, and at the time, there's stress, and COVID hit. I lost my job. Everything we knew, the gym had to close. The karate school had to close. My kids didn't have an outlet. They couldn't go to school. All of a sudden, we're all stuck. Literally, the government's telling you don't go outside. So I'm I don't know what the heck's going on. All I know is it's never going to be the same again. So after a few weeks, I think, what the hell? This is an opportunity. Why sit and wait in the unknown versus, I could take a chance because currently I'm collecting unemployment and that can fund me starting a new career. And so instead of just sitting there, and I'm not putting anyone down. I had friends using unemployment to buy stuff and have fun. And because they knew the job's coming back, I honestly didn't know if restaurant industry would ever come back to be the same. Mm-hmm. So I didn't bang on it. So I called a few realtors that I knew. And the fastest call back was now my mentor. And I remember exactly who he is. I'm at this upscale seafood house and I'm pitching him wild caught grouper, and he goes, man, I don't like fish that much, but that sounds amazing. He called me back. I know exactly who you are. I remember exactly what I ate because you got me to eat it. You will sell houses. Let's have lunch tomorrow. I said, okay. Had lunch the next day. Next thing you know, I'm taking, we call them the KPA. It's like a personality assessment test. And then I'm enrolled in Red School, which was the former version of real estate school for Keller Williams. And I passed my test on the first try, which is apparently hard to do, but I didn't have a choice. I had 3 kids and new career to start. And I got licensed the following month on the team. That following month, he was mentoring me until he had a spot on the team. Had a first buyer the following month, had my first close the following month, and it just snowballed. And, you learn along the way, but I look back and I have to be like, well, some people might have done that faster, quicker, more efficiently. I did it while being in a state of, holy crap, what's going on? I have to reinvent my life. And it could have been way worse. It could have been way better, but I did it. And I did it. So the discipline, granted, I was lazy the first 2 weeks of COVID. Who wasn't, right? We didn't know what was going on. Let's just sit on the couch because government told us to. But the laziness had to go away. And I had to kick up that discipline and work and figure it out and go into the scary unknown because I had to. And I changed it in my mind. It's not because I have to, I'm choosing to. And that is the difference with discipline. It's not I have to, it's I'm choosing to. And that, in some parts of my life, yes, I'm very disciplined. In other parts, I have to, right? So, but it's the choice. Can you make it a choice that you will make that? And I think, yes, martial arts definitely had a piece of that because I chose to go back to a martial arts school at the time, the club. That wasn't easy. It was an ass kicker. Like I'm talking, most people go to martial arts, and I'm not saying everything, but most people go to martial arts an hour long, right? This was 2.5 hours of just butt kicking and stretching. And when someone says you can't break a sweat stretching, no. I'm talking like we were doing stuff similar to basic yoga, but whipping your leg so that your leg is going past your head, flinging your side kick up so it's as vertical as humanly possible for your body, like doing the splits and sitting there and enjoying it, enjoying the pain because that's improving your body. Like I can do this splits. I can never do this when my thighs would just, But I remember him standing on my thighs to try to tear the hamstring so it could rebuild in more flexibility. Like it's nuts. But I think about that stuff and I think, man, I chose to do that for an outcome, right? Like Olympic runners, they run, but they don't just run. They're stressing their lungs, they're stressing their muscles, they're weight training, they're probably swimming, they're pushing their body to the most. Now, was I Olympic? No, but I pushed my body as far, like way farther than it was ever comfortable because I wanted something, right? And so, I sometimes now, I've switched careers and now I'm more of a coach. I still train and I'm going to compete in a tournament pretty soon, but I have that, but I'm not nearly as gung-ho as I was, but I can tap into it whenever I want, So if I know a tournament's coming up, I go into my old tournament routine, I drop 20 pounds, I increase my flexibility, I increase my cardio, I got it back because I can. That was the same elite level, probably not, but they do this for fun now, not because I'm chasing some title, So I don't know. I hope that answer is kind of
no, you're good. It's fascinating. So back to the question, I gave you a lot of time there. What would be the best discipline for a female realtor who's going out on her own? For anybody, really. I mean, everybody could use a little self-defense.
Sure, yeah. I've thought about this. I know way back we were at an airport talking about this. So I have thought about this, and there isn't a simple answer. I think the arrogance in me would be like, yeah, my styles are the best. No, they're probably not. My attitude and my honest gut intuition and heart tells me any style that you take seriously and it's to make you better can be the best style. If there was a best style, don't you think an MMA fighter would only do that style? So part of the game now in a martial arts world is keeping your traditions, keeping your roots, but expanding to include everything. So at my current place, we're traditional Taekwondo, but we also explore boxing and mechanics and wrestling and grappling and just self-defense stuff to make you more well-rounded. Because I'll be honest with you, until I started practicing and trying to learn grappling, I won't say jujitsu because I'm not enrolled, but practicing grappling and learning it and studying it, I thought, whatever, I'll kick their ass before they can take me down. I now know that is absolutely not the truth. I was surprised at how easily I was taken down and how much I was useless on the ground, right? So it was a good realization for me. Again, ego checks in my 30s, as I get older, like I'm not that great, and I'm coming from, I was good, what I mean? To that was a total equalizer. So my answer is there isn't a best one. There are some styles specifically geared toward self-defense and hurt that person before you can get hurt. Yes. But if I were to answer truthfully, it's have a mentality going in. Like, don't assume the world is nice because it's not. Like if I, specifically for realtors, if I'm going into an open house in a less desirable neighborhood, we'll just say, we all know there's better places than there's not. But if I'm going in as, 100-pound woman who doesn't know self-defense, I can't teach you anything that will help you in that situation. But I can tell you, maybe bring backup because 2 is better than 1. So talk to a lender that you trust. It doesn't matter man or woman. There's pairs, right? You're not alone. mentality is, I had a friend, it's along the same vein, so I'll tell. I had a friend, he worked at a brewery, and it was a very popular brewery. I mean, this is when we were in our late 20s. And he said, look, I hooked up with the wrong girl. Turns out her boyfriend is going to like murder me. I didn't even know, but he keeps coming to the bar. Show me some moves. I said, I can't show you moves. That won't help you. What I can tell you is when you're alone working the bar shift, keep a table, keep a chair, keep a wall pillar, anything in between you and this person. Don't make it easy to get snagged or popped, or be aware. Like, have this hyper awareness of your room. If you're in an open house, know who's walking in the door, Never turn your back to the door. Just be aware. And that goes farther than learning how to get out of a guillotine would take you.
Okay.
Why learn how to get out of a guillotine when you'd rather just have the awareness to never be put in one, right? It's being real. So just have that awareness. So if I'm at an open house and someone walks in, I might not even register as a danger, but I'm going to know where that person is, because this dude in a suit and tie might be having a bad day, and just, so never assume. Be in pairs if you feel more comfortable. And I know a lot of realtors kind of do that nowadays. They have lender partners. You could bring in your teammate and just do a double team, and either one of you just take, this person walked in, I'll take this one. We just alternate people walking in, they'll be our contacts. And any realtor will know what I'm talking about. You go into events, take a girlfriend, take a friend, a boyfriend, doesn't matter. Just be in pairs, If you're walking late at night, never have both earpods on. Like, I would suggest not even having one in. Be aware. Hear,
Right.
We were just joking about this earlier right before we were talking, is now car keys don't even have keys. It's like a fob, but I used to say, put the longest key in between your fingers. And if someone you're just ready. You're just ready for it. Not that you have to take someone's eye out, but you're ready in case, if someone attacks you. And again, these are just my opinion. I can't tell you that this is the best thing to do, but my opinion is, especially if you're lighter in weight and maybe not as strong as some others, there's a big difference in human sizes, right? If you're standing up trying to fight, you're an easy to be picked up. You can get thrown into a van, right? Not saying that that's going to happen. I'm saying, what if? And that's what we teach the kids. What if? Your best bet is, if you can't get away and you can't run and you are stuck, become dead weight. Scream as loud as you can. Kick, flail. Try to kick them as they're coming at you. Always be turning your body. Make yourself dead weight, because it's so much harder to pick up a light human from the ground who's dead weight. It's very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's very difficult, right?
Yeah.
And you're screaming, you're loud, and you're causing more attention. So if you couple that with, don't be in a spot where you're alone and you make yourself dead weight if you have to, the odds of someone at least seeing it, and in this day and age, someone's probably going to pull out their phone and record it, right? So you're kind of compounding these ideas. And I didn't teach you one move. Mm-hmm. It's all about awareness. So, it's Muay Thai. Like, you don't need to know a Muay Thai roundhouse if you're in danger. Like, the odds of you actually pulling one off, if that's the only move you know, it's not. It's an attitude. So be aware, know your surroundings, be in pairs, never, keep your senses alert. And if you run, if you have to, right, just get out of there. I'd rather you leave your person run and be alive than fighting, and then if it comes down to the point where you're, scream as loud as you can, kick, flail, make yourself dead weight. If you have mace, you can use it. A lot of people want to have, self-defense, like arms. I'm a big proponent. Like, if you want to do it, that's your right, but be trained. Don't just throw something in your purse and expect to know how to use it when you need it. You have to be calm. You have to know how it works. You have to have no hesitation. But that's a whole nother can of worms. But be trained in whatever you choose to have.
Okay.
If you have mace, know how to take the cap off and use it.
Yeah. You don't want the first time to be.
More harm than good. Yeah.
So, what does martial arts do for children? Like, do you have any stories over all your years where somebody was totally a misfit, came in, and were turned around by it?
Yeah, it happens more subtly in my experience. Yes, there's some times where it's like, well, the kid's a 180, right? But I think it's subtle, right? If you start your kiddo, like my son's 4, he just started.
How cute.
I watch him, and he's watched us since he could crawl. So he's not having trouble paying attention, doing the moves, copying. But you see others who are brand new to it. They're 4. You can't even get mad at them for not, they're just not paying attention. But then you see a difference when they get that first yellow stripe attached to their belt, and they're like, oh, I earned something. And there's a little bit more attention, a little bit more discipline. And yeah, sometimes some it takes till they're 9. Some it's like, oh, I'm getting somewhere. Oh, I did a great move. I'm going to listen. I know it, and family dynamic. Do you have a parent who's nagging you, riding you versus a parent who's very encouraging? Like there's all these different dynamics that play into it. But seeing kiddos mentality change and confidence change and just like, wow, these guys believe in me. I have coaches that believe in me and I'm going somewhere. And then you get stories from parents, I'm talking years later, they're still enrolled, but they're years later, they're red belts, brown belts, junior black belts. They're like, wow, his grades have really improved. Wow, we actually like some of the friends he's brought around. And it's interesting. It's the small consistency of having support, achieving little goals, and you get that confidence, and confidence does come around in the long run. Like you could see a kiddo who has confidence versus a kiddo who has nothing. It's plain on their face. I'm a nobody versus holding their head up high, like knowing, yeah, I mean, I'm 10, but I'm a junior black belt. Like that's huge, Like,
it is so huge. I have to tell you a story. We discovered that we have people in common. We didn't even realize. We've known each other for several years, and we had no idea. My husband's daughter and her 2 sons go to the same dojo, which is where? What is it?
So it's Taekwondo, so it'd be Dojang.
Dojang. Thank you.
Same karate school. Dojang. Yeah, and that's Kim's Martial Arts.
Kim's Martial Arts. And it has changed them in many, many ways. We had a party at our house, and there were a lot of kids, and there were a lot of adults. And Drake was 8 years old at the time, and his brother was 6. And there was a kid that was like in 6th grade, big kid, that was picking on those 2 boys, like really picking on them and stuff. And Drake said to this big kid, I know karate, and I'm not afraid to use it. And the kid backed down. The kid started crying. And it was like, if he didn't have that, I don't know how that would have turned out. It's
Sure.
like he had the confidence. So
yeah,
it's a wonderful dojo. And you are a Dojang. Dojang. I have heard nothing but good. It's incredibly positive and upbeat. And you are a coach there. So if somebody wants to get coached by you, we'll put your information.
No, I would say we could put the school's info,
Okay.
right? And just, this is where we're at. If you're at all interested, you can always swing by. You can email on the website. There's an email you can do, and you can just say, hey, I'm interested in this. Would it be a good fit? So we don't necessarily screen, but we want people to have, like if you go in, you want to know that it's a good place. And so we see adults, we see kiddos, and I see kids a lot come in and they're just sitting on the sidelines scared. But we're kind of like, get in if you want. If you don't want to, just watch. And so some kids come around day 1, they're in it. I love it. Sign me up, Mom. And there's others 2-3 weeks of just watching, and they finally dip their toes in. If they're not warming up, don't force them. Come back in 6 months. Come back in a year. If this is something that you think they'll be good at, we'll work with you, There are kids jump in first day, like, sign me up. This is what I'm doing, But there's others it takes time, and don't force them,
Okay.
As far as we are 100% building up a family environment. So we want the parents and the adults to feel just as welcome as kids, because it's not just for kids, but we also know kids want to do it, or parents want their kids to have discipline, right? So it all comes with the territory. But we used to do family parties and potlucks after events. We would, a while ago, we would, pay for the pay-per-views and show some fights and stuff But we're getting back into it now that COVID's being phased out. We're bringing like family potlucks after big testing days. We're doing holiday parties again. So it's all about positivity, changing a family for the better, bring it in. You have all this positive attitude. I don't know how many people have thrown their kids in And they're like, I want to do it now. And it's
That
really
that
cool.
happened in our case. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it doesn't have to be life changing. It could just be for exercise, right? But I think there's so much more on the benefit side, you know, when you start being surrounded by positivity and everyone just wanting to improve themselves, and you start realizing, wow, I went up 2 flights of stairs and I'm not huffing and puffing. Holy cow. And I'm having fun and I'm being encouraged and I'm hearing jokes, and we're all about having a good time and enjoying it. And so it's funny, like, so I come from that elite work tournament, and then I come into this where there was a lot of family dynamic as the elite, but this is family oriented, including everybody, making it something that anybody could enjoy if they want to, right? And do we have elite competitors? Yeah, we do. I mean, we go and we do fairly well at local tournaments, and we like to support local tournaments. But that's not the be all end all. This is all about becoming a better person, you know, being included in something beyond school, beyond work, having an outlet. And if you wanted to get competitive, well, we got that too.
We got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to commend you, Yuri, because there's very few people in their lives that have any one place that they get to regularly frequent, that they get that filled up. And you have that in your work life too. That is amazing. How do you feel about being in this office specifically of Keller Williams?
Well, I think the number one thing I learned in the beginning is, these people want me to succeed. There's classes, 2-3 classes a week that I could just pop in on. And, you know, I was very lucky. I had Steve as a mentor and Sahar backing him up. And I mean, we're New Mexico home deals. We're a small little team, but guess what? We're number one in 2022. We're number one 2 months in a row in 2023. I mean, we're doing great, but it's the work ethic and having, I mean, you asked me to brag, so here we go. I had to negotiate stuff with Steve, and we're in his home backyard working on difficult stuff together, laughing the whole time and enjoying it, because is he my mentor? Yes. Is he my boss? Yes. Is he my friend? Yes. Right? And so that's the team. But Keller Williams as a whole, you have that kind of atmosphere that's conducive for something like that to happen. Do I know about other brokerages? No. This is what I know. I came into this one and I like it a lot. I have an opportunity to real estate gives you an opportunity to work as hard as you can and get rewarded, or work as little as you can and stay under the radar. You can do whatever you want. There's so many people who do it part-time. I'm lucky enough to say going full-time, and I'm doing okay. Like, this is crazy. But I mean, you have the ability at Keller Williams to cap, meaning you can then make 100% of what you earn in commission. And some places do similar things. I know different splits, right? But the fact that right now I have capped earlier than I ever did, you know, I know it's year 3. I know I consistently get better, but now for the second half of my fiscal year, I'm making 100% of my commission. That's cool.
That's so cool.
That's a direct result of hard work and good mentorship. So you see things. So yeah, okay, I'm a green belt in real estate, but I can see how I'm getting better every day, and I see how my interactions and my reactions are no longer reactions, they're responses to different intuitions and problems that come up. And so the fact that we have an office, and I specifically have a team that really fosters it, encourages you to be yourself, and just wants to teach you. It's like we used to joke about this in martial arts too. It's like, as a coach, my job is to throw the whole kitchen at you. Here's a fridge. What sticks. If anything sticks, I did my job that day, right? And so it's the same thing. I'm just getting everything thrown at me, but it sticks one thing at a time, sometimes 2, you know, but eventually I'll be that full well-rounded kitchen. And what do you do when you have a great new kitchen? Well, you feed, you host, and then you work onto the bathroom, and you go to the next thing, right? So if I can complete my original goals, right? If I can make the income I set for myself in the first 5 years, if I can get my first investment property in the first 5 years, if I make all those goals happen, what happens next? It's just like in fighting. I scored a point in tournament. Well, what happens next? So I'm going to drop my hands and get popped just because the judge says stop doesn't mean all things stop, right? So I achieve my goals, set new ones, keep going. And so, yes, I had that for martial arts. Yes, I have that for real estate. Yes, I have that as a father. But, again, I am lazy, but I choose to be disciplined where I have to be and where I should be.
Well, we just did a transaction together, and you were spectacular.
Thank you.
I've been doing this a long time, done a whole bunch of transactions, and it was a pleasure and an honor to work with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You got
that
it.
makes me feel good.
Oh, good. Oh, good. All right. Well, thank you, Yuri. We appreciate you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.